Hey guys, how's it going? So today we're going to do another full face makeup routine, but this time I thought it'd be fun to add a little twist, and that being facial hair. So having a full beard. So I have the full look on now, so just stay tuned and I'll walk you through the whole look step by step. Hi guys, so basically we're going to start off with our primer as per usual. You want to make sure that you kind of start with the areas that are your trouble spots and kind of work your way out from there. So my center of the face, the center of my face around my nose and my eyes are kind of my key oily spots, so I just kind of applied there and then work my way out. Next, I'm going to move on to my Covergirl Outlast Stay Fabulous foundation that I talked about in my faves vid. So like I said, drugstore foundations tend to be a little bit too thick and dense for me, so I like to mix it with my MAC face and body, just so that it has a little bit more blendability and allows me to get more of that kind of airbrushed light finish that I like, without losing or compromising full coverage. So I'm going to take my brush, my little traditional foundation brush, and I'm just going to apply my foundation to the areas of my face that require the fullest coverage. So under my eyes, around my nose, that's basically where my face is almost like a bullseye. And all of my redness is kind of centered in my face, whereas the outsides of my face are a little bit more even complexion. So I'm just going to focus on the center of my face first, just kind of loading in the foundation and really making sure I'm covering all those trouble spots. Next, I'm going to use my e.l.f. stippling brush, and basically I'm just going to buff out all the foundation I have already applied on my face. So again, working from the center of my face, I'm going to buff the product out to the extremities of my face. As you can see, I started from my nose, and then I started buffing out towards my cheeks. So buff away, buff, 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 lots of buffing. So make sure you're doing circular motions and you're really making sure that you're getting that really airbrushed out look. Now once you get to your facial hair, you want to make sure that you're kind of going against the grain and pushing up against the hair so that you can get the skin underneath. So as you can see, I'm kind of pushing upward against my facial hair so that way I can get underneath the hair. Because if you don't, what ends up happening is you end up with this like weird darkness around your facial hair, and also a really distinct stripe of color variation, which is really noticeable and awkward, especially in pictures. So next we're moving on to concealer. So I've got my peach toned and my olive toned concealers, and each one's used to target a different problem, and I've talked about this before. So what I do first is I just swipe around in the concealer pot, and then I wipe it on the surface of my hand to kind of help warm it up and thin out the product a bit, and then I apply it directly to my under eye circles or bags. The peach color kind of helps to neutralize the purples and the blue under my eyes. I obviously didn't sleep very well, and that's why I've got enough luggage to go on a trip to Aruba under my eyes. So I just basically then go in with the surface of my finger pad, and just kind of pat out the foundation. There you go. See, it's a little bit brighter underneath there. Now next I'm going to use the olive toned foundation, concealer, and I'm going to use that to conceal my imperfections. So any redness that might still be showing up underneath my foundation. So in the same way that peach and orange tones neutralize blues and purples, olive and green tones you neutralize red tones. So if you have any pimples or redness or irritation, it's really great to use an olive toned or an NC if you're at MAC. So I'm just going to get around my nose. My nose is a hot spot for redness. So when I'm doing this area, I'm really trying to make sure I'm avoiding facial hair, just because this product is really thick and dense, so it can actually cling to the facial hair and make it kind of stick together. So I really don't want to have weird clumpy patches of facial hair, so I'm really avoiding it with the concealer. So next we're going to go in with our Maybelline FIT ME contour sticks. Now I'm applying them on top of my foundation just to kind of show you guys a variation. Normally I would do it the opposite way. I would put the contour sticks on the bottom and then buff the foundation on top. So again, we want to emphasize our cheekbones, under the lip to make our bottom lip really pop, a little nose contour, bringing it up to the bridge. I'm really trying to thin out my nose, and then also I put it up in my forehead and across my hairline. That really helps to bring my hairline down because I have such a large forehead and my hairline is so receded. It helps to bring my hairline forward. So now I'm just buffing it in and then going over it with light stippling motions to really help to blend it in with my foundation. So I don't lose too much of the color, but I don't end up with like weird stripes of brown on my face. So this side you can get a little bit clearer view. I'm just buffing it out. And then once it's buffed out, I'm just going over and stippling it. See there? Just kind of pressing it into the surface of my skin. Now with the nose, you don't really have to do a buffing motion, just stippling will help to diffuse the makeup enough. So again, making sure that you're buffing all the way up and into the hairline, so that way you don't end up with a weird shadow. It'll almost look like dirt on your forehead. It needs to really go all the way back into your hair to really give the impression of it just being a shadow due to a really raised center of your forehead. And the next step is going to be highlight. So again, just doing the point of my chin, up the bridge of my nose, the center of my forehead, and then I just kind of do it on the ocular bone, the highlights of my cheekbones. And with these, I don't really buff them quite so much as I just kind of stipple them, because I really want to keep that highlight looking intense. And if I buff it out, it'll kind of diffuse a little bit too much. But if you don't like your look to be quite as loud, I guess, as mine, you can always just buff it out a little bit more, use a little bit less product. Or you can decrease the contrast in between your shadow and highlight color. So my low light color or contrast color is quite a bit darker than my skin tone, so you could just make it a little bit lighter than I've chosen to use. So that way the difference isn't quite as stark. So next I'm using my e.l.f. Mineral Loose Powder just to help set my foundation. Oh, there's something outside that's caught my eye. So I'm using my Mercier Powder Puff, and I'm just kind of patting some product onto it. So we really want to make sure that we avoid getting powder on our facial hair at all costs. The powder will adhere to the hairs and cause them to look not only thicker, but then they'll repel light, giving you a really weird dark cast, especially in flash photography, where the bottom of your face looks black. It's really odd. Maybe I'll put a photo of mine that helped me to learn this in the comments below. Yeah, so I'm making sure that, well, right now I'm just buffing my product into the wrinkle on my forehead. And I'm making sure that I'm applying my loose powder on the highlights of my face. And then afterwards going through with this small brush, it's a MAC brush, to the places that I have the most creasing, or I tend to have a lot of oiliness. So around my nose is a great place, and also under my eyes to kind of avoid creasing. So you want to make sure you're not pressing it too much into your eye. You should just be lightly coating it over the surface of your eye, just to help minimize the appearance of fine lines, but also create a really soft, supple under eye area. I'm also trying to keep this to the highlights of my face, or the points of my face I want to raise, just because there is a slight white cast with this powder. Next, I'm just gonna kind of knock off any excess. So this is really just a light patting over the surface of my face. I'm not really buffing or adding any pressure, just to take off any extra powder off the surface of my face. Next, I'm using the Hoola Bronzer by Benefit. So again, really trying to make sure that we're avoiding the facial hair with our powders. So again, when applying bronzer, you really want to make sure you're just lightly placing it on the surface of your face, and then knocking off the excess. After doing all that work, putting all that foundation, all that concealer on, the last thing you want to do is really harshly buff off the rest of that product. So if you really press your foundation brush, or sorry, your bronzer brush into the surface of your face, you're just going to erode all the foundation you just put on. So this, if you can see, I'm just knocking off lightly the excess bronzer. And it also really helps to keep the pigmentation, so yeah. I'm really lightly removing any excess powder, and it really helps to get really clean lines this way as well. So I'm just going to do a really light nose contour. Normally I'd kind of pack the bronzer in and then buff it out, but today I'm just going to do a really light buffed nose contour. Nothing too harsh or sharp. Next I'm going to use my Mineralized Illuminator, and of course I'm going to make sure I do my Cupid's bow to kind of make those lips all plump and supple, making sure you're bringing it up the nose. This really helps to minimize your nose, bringing it up the bridge. I'm putting it on the center of my eyelids just to make my eyes pop. And then, of course, on the ocular bone. And then just above the brow. Now, using a blush brush, I'm just going to pat it over my cheekbones just to kind of, one, give my face a really nice dewy look, and two, to really make my cheekbones, which I actually don't have, like, pop. So next I'm using an eyebrow pencil, and I'm doing this with the grain down my facial hair. I have a really thin, pedophile-like beard, so what I like to do is take a nice eyebrow pencil and just thicken it up a little bit more. So you want to make sure that your eyebrow pencil is really sharp, so you're getting really fine, thin lines that really do imitate hair, and making sure you're going with the grain, because if you go against the grain, it ends up pushing up all the hairs, and it's just a mess. This way it looks a lot more natural and really helps to thicken up the hairs. Or, sorry, thicken up the beard. The hair doesn't get any thicker. This is like magic pencil. Look, my beard is so thick. And you really want to try and find a shade that's really a true match to your facial hair. If it's too dark or too light, it'll really stand out. You can almost see the pencil marks, at least on my face, because my facial hair is so thin. So next I'm just going to clean up my brows. I'm just using the Revlon Brow Fantasy. I'm just using it to kind of clean up my brows and kind of fill them in. It's pigmented, so it kind of helps to give my brow a little bit more fullness as well. And then I'm going to use it to kind of clean up my facial hair. So I'm just brushing with the grain, kind of cleaning it up, making sure there's no stray hair standing up or going crazy anywhere. Then I set with my e.l.f. Mist and Set for long-lasting coverage. And here is my before picture, and here's after. Well, that was it. I hope you guys liked it. Please let me know in the comments below what you think. Let me know if you have any tips or tricks for dealing with facial hair when you're doing a full face of makeup. This is just kind of how I do it. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I really look forward to meeting more of you guys, having more of you guys tuning in every week to see me. So until next time, talk to you later, bros and hoes.